Today, I want to give an overview of Michael Porter and Mark Kramer's article, Strategy and Society, from Harvard Business Review in 2006. The article is important as it proposes a way to introduce the stakeholder view of the firm's responsibility into strategy. For Porter, it represents a shift from his earlier thinking, where the purpose of the firm was to maximise long-term financial return. The article also hints at the way Porter's thinking on strategic positions has moved on since his 1996 paper, What is Strategy? And that line of thinking that's developed in his presentations since then. Porter and Kramer start by stressing the importance of corporate social responsibility in the face of aggressive targeting by activists, the media, and even governments. Firms are increasingly held account for the social consequences of their activities. However, the efforts of firms in delivering social benefits has not been as productive as it could be. Porter and Kramer argue that this is because the approach taken to CSR is often fragmented and uncoordinated. Frequently, the way it is conceived pits business needs against social needs in a zero-sum game, with thinking about CSR being generic and disconnected from the firm's operations and its strategy. Too often, they argue, the results are cosmetic, with little more than a public relations ambition. CSR, therefore, is responsive to the latest pressures faced by a firm and justified by claims of moral obligation to do the right thing, or the need for a license to operate from all stakeholders, perhaps to adopt sustainability, or simply to safeguard the reputation of the firm into the future. However, it's inconclusive if any social impact is achieved or the business gains in any way. With no way to quantify benefits, such CSR programs are on shaky ground, liable to be dislodged by changes in management or swings in the business cycle, shifts that can cause more damage than the initial program actually generated. Without a strategic approach, the results are a hodgepodge of uncoordinated CSR and philanthropic activities that make neither a social impact or strengthen the firm's long-term competitiveness. Porter and Kramer see the result as being a huge missed opportunity. They argue that business and society need to recognise the interdependence they have for each other to be prosperous. And it is in this intersection of needs that Porter and Kramer believe corporations need to focus to create what they term shared value. Both society benefits beyond the firm just paying its taxes, providing jobs and products, but also the firm gains economic value through those activities. Porter and Kramer believe that these points of intersection can take two forms. Firstly, inside-out linkages, where the firm impinges on society through the day-to-day normal course of its business, its value chain activities, to use one of his earlier models. The second one, is outside-in linkages, where external social conditions influence the corporation. These attract much less attention, but can be of far greater strategic significance. In the article, they make links to Porter's 1990 Harvard Business Review paper, The Competitive Advantage of Nations, and the diamond model that assesses the national characteristics, the national context of the firm and its sector, to look at these external social conditions. Now, a firm can't solve all of society's problems or bear the cost in doing so. So, business must select the social issues that intersect with its particular business. Other social issues are best left to companies in other sectors or to NGOs or to the government, because they're better placed to deal with those issues. The criteria for that choice should not be whether a cause is worthy or not. They probably all are. The criteria should be, does that issue provide an opportunity to create shared value? So meaningful benefit for society and valuable to the firm. This in mind, Porter and Kramer proposed their corporate shared value, CSV, framework. In it, they suggest social issues affecting the company fall into three categories. The first one is generic social issues. These are issues that, yes, are important to society, but do not significantly affect the company's operations, nor do they affect its long-term competitiveness. The second category they call value chain social issues. Those are social issues that are significantly affected by the company's day-to-day activities. And then thirdly, social dimensions of the competitive context. Now that's social factors in the external environment that significantly affect the underlying drivers of competitiveness in the places the company operates. Now, in that, I've used the word significant a lot, because Porter and Kramer here are insisting that firms make choices. So these have to be things that significantly affect the business of the firm. Porter and Kramer say that every business must itself sort the social issues into these categories and rank them in terms of the level of impact they'll have on the firm and its business. So, for example, supporting a dance company might be a generic social issue for an electricity company, but an important part of the competitive complex for American Express. It's important in terms of the context of entertainment, hospitality and tourism. Carbon emissions may be a generic issue for a financial services company, but it's going to be a value chain social issue for transportation companies like UPS, or a competitive context issue for a car manufacturer like Toyota. The AIDS pandemic in Africa might be a generic social issue for a retailer like Home Depot in the US, but a value chain issue for a pharmaceutical company like GlaxoSmithKline, and for a company like Anglo American, a mining company, which is dependent on local labour in Africa, it will be a competitive context issue. Within an industry, different social issues will map to different categories. So, for example, a firm like Volvo may have, with a positioning around safety, will have particular mapping of social issues, while another, like Toyota, with environmental concern being part of its positioning, will have a different set of social issues that are categorised into different criteria. Of course, categorising and ranking social issues is just a means to an end. The firm needs to act on the insight generating. Porter and Kramer make a distinction between responsive CSR, mitigating harm, and strategic CSR, creating shared value. They encourage firms to substantially shift their CSR efforts from responsive CSR to strategic CSR. What they advise is that wherever possible, firms stop doing generic social issues. Some will of course still be needed as good citizenship, but these should be tightly controlled and tracked. Mitigating harm arising from the firm's value chain is unlikely to give a competitive advantage in the long term. And here best practice needs to be adopted to stop destroying social value. But any company strategy must go beyond responding to good citizenship requirements and mitigating harm. Strategic CSR, Porter and Kramer argue, revolves around pursuing a small number of initiatives where the shared value benefit is large and distinctive. Many of these opportunities will arise in the company's value chain and its product offering. As the closer the social issue is to the company's business, the greater the chance of leveraging the firm's resources and capabilities, and so the greater the chance or likelihood of benefiting society. This thinking goes further where the social dimension is made part of the strategic value proposition that is at the heart of a firm's strategy. This is an area that Porter and Kramer believe represents a new frontier to strategic positioning and competitive advantage. But integrating business strategy and social needs takes more than good intentions and strong leadership. It requires the alignment of the organisation's activities right across the value chain to the fit of the activity system, referring back to Porter's What Is Strategy paper, and also a need to change in attitude in how we see CSR. Strategy is always about making choices, what to do and what not to do. And Porter and Kramer stress that CSR is no different. You need to choose which issues and then focus your resources on them. For only a few will make a real difference to society and deliver a competitive advantage. Porter and Kramer finish with a call for society to recognise the importance business has for creating social value. They create jobs, invest capital, produce goods and services that we buy, and indeed pay taxes. And Porter and Kramer urge governments not to distort rules and incentives that govern the smooth functioning of businesses, but allow businesses to voluntarily address additional wider social areas. They do, though, warn businesses that seeking short-term profits and shirking social and environmental responsibilities is not acceptable. Businesses need to mitigate the harm to social value that they cause. But CSR should not only be about what is wrong, nor should it be about philanthropic contributions to charities. Shared value offers a way to move from corporate social responsibility to corporate social integration. And so CSR becomes a source of competitive advantage as well as providing benefit to society.